I'm excited to like go to recess and everything and like have new friends.
Well, today is the day. Spokane Public School students headed back to the classroom, some for the first time fully in person since 2020. Now tonight we have all the coverage looking at exciting changes coming to our area schools. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for our new hour-long Krem 2 News First at 4. I'm Whitney Ward. Tom is off tonight. Yes, it is an exciting day for students, parents too, but there are still some concerns about COVID-19 transmission in schools. So the Washington State Superintendent says while there will be cases, area schools do have measures in place to keep everyone safe.
Don't be surprised if there are cases. There are going to be some, but we really have to push through this. A lot of students are going to be bringing a potential infection into school because they have not been wearing masks for all day during their summer break. And now we're all starting school together, but the protocols are really good and we need to push through those.
The state superintendent also added Washington has some of the safest COVID guidelines in the nation. For some middle school students, today was even more exciting because they were stepping into brand new schools. Krem 2's Amanda Rowley takes us inside Glover Middle School in the Shadle Park neighborhood, as well as Shaw Middle School in Hilliard.
Shaw Middle School was a replacement project for Spokane Public Schools. Voters approved the funding for that project along with several others in the 2018 bond.
On the first day of school, Shaw Middle School students walked into their new building for the first time.
This is the most hopeful place in our community right now.
A project 3 years in the making finally came to fruition. To celebrate, school staff and local leaders gathered for the ribbon cutting.
Do you know how lucky you are to have a school like this? My schools never look like this.
The middle school shares its campus with the Lisa Matson On Track Academy, and its library is combined with the new Hilliard Library. Shaw Middle School's design is reimagined with learning neighborhoods. That means each neighborhood has classrooms with core subjects and a common area. Principal John Sweat says this design supports the goal of building relationships among students and teachers.
All of the classrooms open to each other and then have that clear view to the living room so that they can keep an eye on kids and kids can work together out here without a teacher standing right here.
Once the ribbon was cut,
hey, welcome to the new Shaw and Hilliard Library.
Students made their way to their neighborhoods.
Welcome to the new Shaw. This is your school.
In Shadle Park, the new Glover Middle School opened today as well.
Right, a special day indeed. And, you know, I first want to point to our students who are here right now. This is your space. This is your brand new school.
Like Shaw, Glover Middle School uses several learning neighborhoods. Its design inside and outside the building was inspired by Bowl and Pitcher. Demolition of the old Glover is expected to wrap up by mid-fall. The site of the old school will become the parking lot and athletic fields. Amanda Rowley, Krem 2 News.
Beautiful new facilities. However, a dire warning tonight from one of North Idaho's top pediatricians saying that unless school districts or other local leaders in the Panhandle make some big changes, kids there going back to school are at serious risk of not only catching COVID, but getting hospitalized because of it. And making matters worse, there simply are not enough beds or medical staff to properly treat them. Our Casey Decker spoke with Dr. Vanessa Carroll tonight. And Casey, let's start off with what did she tell you?
Yeah, Whitney, Dr. Carroll is the director of medical pediatrics at Kootenai Health, and she says data from other districts in the country tells us a frightening story, that even though kids mostly did okay with previous variants of the coronavirus, this Delta variant is different. A significant portion of kids are not eligible for that vaccine, and of those who are eligible, less than 40% in North Idaho are actually vaccinated. That leaves thousands of kids vulnerable, and based on the current data, Dr. Carroll says 200 or more children could end up in the hospital with COVID just from the Coeur d'Alene School District alone. About 60 of them, she thinks, would need to go to the pediatric ICU. But Kootenai Health doesn't have a pediatric ICU, and other hospitals in the region are extremely limited with both space and staffing.
The current information is about a third of these kids that are managing to get admitted need an intensive care bed space, and they need that higher level. Gosh forbid, they might even need mechanical ventilation to keep their lungs, expanding and breathing, because these are some rough viruses. With that in mind, you then look around the region and there's just not 60 beds to care for even our school district, much less our surrounding neighbors. So it's a real problem.
Does that mean there could be a scenario where doctors are having to triage children in a sense and decide who gets a ventilator and who doesn't?
You're absolutely right. And that's our worst nightmare. And that's why our team is preparing so rigorously, because we don't have a pediatric intensive care unit, but we recognize when someone's child is struggling and you need to step in, there's a great chance that our team is going to have to then intubate and ventilate a child without a PICU, and then be able to hopefully transfer them to another facility that does. And there are some, but we just talked about there's not enough beds.
And the thing is here, that nightmare scenario is preventable. It can be prevented with the vaccine in those who are eligible, and the threat can significantly be mitigated by wearing masks and social distancing, ventilation, hand washing, staying home when sick, all also important tools. The thing is, North Idaho school districts are essentially doing none of those things. That's why Dr. Carroll says that even though she understands people are tired of protocols, it's time for local leaders to step up here. She and dozens of other experts sent a letter to the school board calling on them to issue new policies to protect kids and prevent that nightmare scenario. Whitney, Tom?
All right, thank you very much, Casey. So Coeur d'Alene Public Schools now having a public forum. That's at 5 o'clock tonight, so that parents can give their opinions on the school's reopening plans involving masks or any other issue that parents might have concerns about. So last year, Coeur d'Alene schools started the year requiring masks, but then despite a recommendation from the medical director of the Idaho Division of Public Health, Coeur d'Alene, the school board there, then voted against reopening this fall with a mask mandate. The board also decided against contact tracing or enforcing quarantine protocols after a COVID exposure. Tonight's listening session will be held in person, and that's at 5 o'clock at Lakes Middle School. All right, taking a quick break from the COVID headlines, we want to take a beautiful live look outside. Michelle Boss is in for Tom Sherry tonight, and just another glorious evening in store, it looks like.
Yeah, if we could award gold medals for weather forecast, for the actual weather, we'd certainly get the gold medal for this past week, for the upcoming weekend, for the holiday weekend. It's looking great. First, taking a look at air quality, that's the first positive. It is good and expected to be good throughout much of the holiday weekend. Temperature-wise, I'm saying this is pretty good. 74 degrees in Spokane. Hard to complain about that for the beginning of September. Getting a little bit warm in central Washington, but of course summer's not over yet. Temperatures in the lower 80s from Omak down through Moses Lake and Othello. And temperatures even in Lewiston, that's normally pretty hot out there, 78 degrees. That's not bad at all. If you're looking for sunshine, we have that in abundant supply across the inland northwest. Just a few diurnal clouds, some daily cumulus clouds across the Canadian border, and those will be dissipating through the evening. Here's a look at the next 12 hours. Of course, sunsets now before 7:30, but the evening looks splendid. Temperatures in the mid-70s through 6 o'clock, and then falling through the 60s with clear skies overnight. Here's a look at the next 3 days, which includes part of your holiday weekend. 78 and sunny on Friday. Just a few clouds on Saturday. Highs back in the 80s and mid-80s for Sunday with mostly sunny skies.
All right, Michelle, thanks very much. The cancellation of Hoopfest devastated a lot of people in the Spokane community, and some players were frustrated that they couldn't get a full refund. But now that's changing. Hoopfest announced today players can either donate 100% of their registration fee, or they can now get a full refund. A Facebook post says the options are a result of community partners stepping up to help the event and make those refunds possible. Team captains should now check their email for more on that update. Hoopfest did stress, though, it's a small nonprofit that relies on help from partners, supporters, and others like you. The Facebook post says if you are in any position just to donate your registration fee, it will be crucial to the return of Hoopfest 2022 and for future generations to come. Evacuating from a wildfire, it's stressful and it can be chaotic for both evacuees as well as firefighters.
Sometimes it takes us 10, 15, 20 minutes to know where this fire is at.
Up after the break, we're going to continue our special coverage, Scorched Earth, explaining how evacuations are decided and ultimately how they're executed when it matters the most. Plus, it is back to school season, and ahead of the big day today, we received messages from multiple leaders in our local schools.
Hi, my name's Adam Swinyard, Superintendent of Spokane Public Schools, and I'm wishing everyone a great first day back to school. We're so excited to have kids in our buildings, and we're ready to get this year off to a great start.